Hello everyone, I am Momoko. I'm from Japan and currently live in UK. I completed a master's degree in women's studies at the University of York last year, and I'm now working on some research on women's studies and also feminist activism independently. This presentation is a research project I did during my master's study, and I add some update for this conference. This is my very first time to make a presentation at academic conference, and I hope everyone can find my presentation interesting. My research title is Japanese hashtag feminism and collective knowledge production. How has Kutu created collective knowledge, and what are the challenges for feminist knowledge production? I explored Kutu, one of the most widespread feminist hashtag movement in Japan, and examined how it created feminist collective knowledge and what are the challenges for feminist knowledge production. In Japan, although Me Too, the worldwide feminist movement in 2017 and 18 failed to gain much support and attention, hashtag activism on Twitter has become popular today. Especially feminists often apply this strategy to advocate women's rights and resist sexism. Throughout their online activism, Kutu was one of the most widespread hashtag feminism in Japan. It started when Yumi Ishikawa, a woman who worked at the funeral parlor, shared an autobiographic post on Twitter describing the pain of her feet caused by high heels and questioning the inequality that women need to wear high heels in the workplace while men wear comfortable shoes. Kutu, echoing Me Too and playing with the words kutsu, shoes and kutsu, pain, captured a lot of interest and support among women, which resulted in the negotiation with the government seeking a law amendment. Considering that it sparked in the society that people really engage in social movements and the traditional gender norm has been perpetuated, it is worth exploring Kutu, an example of widespread online feminism in contemporary Japanese society. About the relationship between high heels and femininity, a lot of scholars pointed out its associations. Cornell and Delay, etc., theorized the behavior of wearing high heels as emphasizing feminism or doing gender. Also, Delay argues that people achieve that femininity in return for high heels in mobility and efforts to walk with them. In Japan, wearing high heels in the workplace has been regarded as normal for most women, especially for those working in the hospitality industry, since women began to engage in paid work. Despite such practices and the lack of a sense that wearing high heels is coercion or gender discrimination against women, Tajima Yoko, one of the pioneers of feminism in Japan, already argued and conceptualized women's behavior in wearing high heels as sexual discrimination in her feminist essay more than 20 years ago. She discussed high heels are a symbol of femininity and modern foot binding, a habit harming women's body in the practice of predominance of men over women. Foot binding is a practice for women in ancient China, and it has several symbolic meanings reflecting Confucian beliefs, which is male dominance over women, such as virginity, relegation to the domestic sphere, and even sex objects satisfying men's erotic desires. Moreover, Tajima continues that as women's minds are also bound by the oppression of femininity, most women will not stop wearing high heels in spite of their physical pain or inconvenience, as that become their identity as women and their oppressed circumstance is perceived as natural. However, albeit Tajima's inspirational discussion, it did not highly impact women's awareness or behaviors in wearing high heels in Japan. In addition, as for the regulation forcing women to wear high heels in the workplace, their rationality had really been questioned or challenged until Kutu emerged and broke the long-lasted silence in Japan. Kutu was begun by a woman's autobiographical tweet in 2019. Yumi Ishikawa, a Japanese actress, freelance writer, and part-time funeral parlor worker, has felt that it is unfair that women have to wear high heels at the workplace, and that requirement is a deep-rooted cultural problem in Japan, rather than the physical discomfort. In Japan, people's dresses are highly associated with traditional gender norms, and it is explicitly reflected in the rules at the workplace or school regulations, which can function as sexism. The survey by the Japanese Trade Union Confederation reveals that many companies have rules on what they wear adapted differently between men and women. About footwear, some of them have regulations on women's shoes that require them to wear high heels, and even some designate the height of the heels in detail. Although the majority of companies don't enforce the rules of women's footwear, in reality, many women wear high heels since tradition and social expectation epistemically persuade them to do so. In January 2019, Ishikawa shared her complaint about wearing high heels at the workplace on Twitter. Saying, "One day I want to abandon the convention that women must wear pumps or high heels at the workplace. When I was in a career college, I worked at a hotel as a part-time worker, staying over for a month, but my feet were too painful to endure because of the pumps, and I quit my school too. Why do we have to work with injured feet due to the pumps whilst men wear flat shoes? I love my current part-time job, but wearing pumps is really tough. Without high heels, how much easier I can move, and I do not worry about making my foot sounds, and I can avoid my foot pain. I will abolish this culture someday. Of course, please wear if you want to." After posting a series of tweets, thousands of people shared her post, expressing solidarity with her and addressing their experiences suffering from high heels. In addition, some supporters suggested and created the hashtag #Kutu to establish and spread the movement. As a result, Kutu provoked such a notable moment that many people focused on and actively talked about gender-related issue in contemporary Japanese society. Moreover, as it drew more and more attention and support, she decided to start a petition campaign requesting the government prohibit companies from forcing women to wear high heels. This petition campaign, which I signed up for as well, gathered more than 18,000 signatures, and she and had her supporters submitted to the Ministry of Health, Labor, and Welfare. The online petition campaign still continues, and it has collected more than 33,000 signatures now. Furthermore, they also launched a crowdfunding project to run an advertisement for Kutu in a newspaper. It was placed in Asahi Shimbun, one of the most read newspapers in Japan, with the hashtag Kutu, the message, "We want the liberty to choose that shoes too," and the name of people and companies who supported the project. These actions provided some striking remarks. In 2019, Kutu was nominated for trending words in Japan, and Ishikawa was elected as one of the world's 100 most influential women by the BBC. In addition, some companies such as Japan Airlines and All Nippon Airways allowed female employees to wear flat shoes influenced by Kutu. Moreover, in the negotiation with the government, it made politicians realize how painful and inconvenient it is for women to wear high heels. And even former Prime Minister Shinzo Abe mentioned that issue, saying that the irrational rules forcing women to feel pain, such as the requirement of wearing high heels, should not be allowed. Nevertheless, the government was reluctant to implement political reform on this issue. Japan's former health minister stated that high heels are necessary and inappropriate in the workplace in response to the campaign, which reflected a pervasive mentality and gendered social pressure in Japan. Also, many companies did not improve their footwear rules for women, unlike Japan Airlines or All Nippon Airways. After all, the ultimate goal of the Kutu movement, making law reform to prohibit coercion of wearing high heels in the workplace, could not be successful. As some scholars argued, Kutu was a meaningful protest in Japan that demonstrated that real requirement for women to wear high heels means gender discrimination. Carlson said, in #feminism, the first autobiographical tweet can show the usage of the story put forward, and the storytelling style is persistently collective. The collectiveness is valued on Twitter as it makes individual stories visible and recontextualized along with the former or following stories. She also argued that collective knowledge is a mode of feminist telling conventionally used to diminish the sense of personal responsibility by pointing to patriarchal structures. During Kutu, Ishikawa's tweet functioned as a departure point for reflecting on their feeling on their issue. Some replies showed solidarity with her. I really agree with you. The service industry often forces women to wear high heels. How can we really break this practice? I want to keep on speaking up too. Some expressed their pain caused by high heels. I used to work in the fashion industry and sometimes wear high heels for 12 hours. My feet always hurt and I felt it was torture. Some even argued more extended issues of gendered customs. I want to abolish the theory that women should wear skirts too. Why can't we take job interviews or work wearing bottoms? Like this, it allows women to express their feelings following her, expand discussion, and make collective narratives from feminist viewpoint. In addition, hashtag feminism has other strengths. The participant can create their own feminist theories through their engagement. Women's narratives enable them to gain alternative voices instead of stories created in male-centered society, and the emotional connections with participants can make the community. To extend the impact of hashtag feminism activism, the use of online platforms also played a vital role. Grag and Logi considered that the internet enables us to make networks with those with common interest or concern, and the non-hierarchical structure helps people distribute text widely. In the Kutu case, what worked well were the hashtags which make interest or concerns visible, and multiple functions for showing reactions. Those who reacted to Ishikawa's tweet might easily find them as allies, even though they were strangers or anonymous, as they can use the hashtag and show their support with likes, replies, and retweet. On the other hand, splitting hashtag itself would not be enough and effective to achieve mass impact through the movement. Using hashtag as only a tool to visualize and expand the issues and to make hashtag movement successful, combination with other strategies, including offline activities, is vital. Kutu excellently advanced its strategies from the hashtag to further actions. Beginning from Twitter, it enables Ishikawa to connect with the staff of Change.org, an online petition platform, which led to the petition campaign. And as a result, Kutu eventually developed its influence on the government through these actions. It significantly presents the possibility of hashtag feminism that the network and visibility obtained on Twitter can broaden their scale and platform of activism, which must be a great strength of collective knowledge production. Thus, through these actions, Ishikawa and her supporters formed women's collective narratives. Their stories became their original feminist theories and posed the conception that the high heel rule for women in the workplace is gender-based discrimination. In spreading the campaign and creating collective knowledge, Twitter played a crucial role in highlighting the issue with the hashtag, making extensive connections among supporters and allowing them to take further action, both offline and online. These collective storytellings also embodied personal is political, in that people's pain and uncomfortableness were taken into account as a social issue. Given that people had hardly questioned the rationality of the high-heeled rules for women before, the development of Kutu undoubtedly exhibited enormous potential for feminist collective knowledge production with hashtags. While Kutu significantly impacted Japanese society, it also faced and revealed some challenges for collective knowledge production through hashtag feminism. Firstly, the backlash against activists was quite intense. As Kutu captured a lot of attention, the intense backlash against the movement and Ishikawa emerged simultaneously from both men and women. They criticized Ishikawa and the movement, regarding it as an attempt to deprive women of the right to wear high heels, and complaining that Ishikawa should not be represented as a women's rights activist because she used to work as an adult bikini model, which they considered as a work contradicting what feminists do. These backlashes eventually caused mental illness with her. Some haters even insisted and spread incorrect information about her book that its contents violated copyright laws, and one of them sued her. Although the judgment proved that she did not violate any laws, this backlash badly influenced her representation as an activist, spreading doubt about the genuineness of her argument. Even now, some people continue to harass her, constantly replying to her gender-related tweet with disagreement and posting horrible reviews on the page displaying her book on Amazon, which may include false information. Before Kutu, when a female journalist, Shiori Ito, now recognized as a Me Too activist in Japan, revealed that she was sexually assaulted by a famous male journalist, she also faced serious backlash. While the influence of Kutu highly overweighed Me Too in Japan, the backlash against Ishikawa showed the surrounding for feminists were not changed much. Online harassment towards feminists has been a common issue in other online feminism worldwide. However, it must be inappropriate for activists to shoulder such a horrible burden, as Otaki said. In addition, hashtag feminism can also allow anti-feminists to use the same hashtag and post hateful comments as a counter to the movement. Through the Kutu, many anti-trolls used this hashtag so that the timeline was filled with statements against it. This would give people negative impressions of the activism or discourage them from speaking up. Secondly, there might be a limitation of topics and people's voices that hashtag feminism can capture and reflect on. To make hashtag feminism successful, many supporters are essential. In Japan, while Me Too failed to receive much attention, thousands of people actively participated in Me Too. Otaki argues that expressive activism necessitates an environment where people can willingly share their experiences and society accept that and respond with political reform. And also theorized the failure of Me Too in Japan could be mainly attributed to the lack of such climate. Besides, Len discussed that the experience of Me Too influenced those involved in the following online activism, including Kutu. This discussion might explain the contrast between Me Too and Kutu in Japan. The progress in online feminism Kutu highlighted was a remarkable accomplishment for feminists in Japan. However, will it necessarily be possible for women motivated by these movements to make following hashtag feminism widespread and impact society, just like the Kutu case? Aside from this discussion, some research on hashtag feminism found that it often lacks diversity or inclusivity, which mainly highlights the majority voice and fails to catch marginalized people's voice. In addition, for the Me Too case in Japan, Otaki said talking about sexual assault would require courage for women and is not valued in society. Sometimes it's questioned or invalidated. Regarding these arguments, led to the supposition that hashtag feminism can be more advantageous for topics many people are familiar with support and empathy for, than those the minority faces. Also, its pervasiveness might depend on how easy people can feel to speak out about the issues. Finally, the biggest challenge for feminist knowledge production Kutu illustrated was that it could not upset the persistent patriarchy in Japan. As explained, Kutu became a significant issue, which eventually negotiated with the government. However, in developing the campaign, it encountered appropriation of its aims and focus into more general contexts. While it had been represented in media and being negotiated with the government, the aim and message Ishikawa truly wanted to emphasize, which was resistance against sexism, had diminished. As she mentioned in the interview, there was a tendency that Japanese media to portray Kutu as a health problem, not a gender-related issue. Besides, although Mizuho Fukushima, a female feminist politician in the Social Democratic Party who supported Kutu, claimed that it is sexual discrimination, Akira Koike, who also supported Kutu, represented it as a labor movement. The circumstance that women are forced to wear high heels in their workplace in Japan might imply that society has valued female employees' femininity, or it even may have regarded them as accessories or flowers in the workplace rather than employees, as Sasanuma said. To tackle sexism, such backgrounds creating unequal rules between men and women should get a focus instead of the outcome of the rules. Nonetheless, these interpretations drove people to focus on women's physical issues caused by high heels more than the rules background representing deep-rooted sexism in Japan. Hence, the appropriation of Kutu's aim and concept distracted it from demonstrating its fundamental concept that the requirement women to wear high heel means gender-based discrimination. It might be used to gain attention and understanding for men or the whole society, but this case emphasized the necessity to reconsider how to maintain feminist collective knowledge consistent and explicit within women's context without evolving to men's context while proceeding with the movement. Moreover, in addition to this appropriation, Kutu could not reach the creation of a new notion that women should decide what they wear and what matters to their bodies. Though Ishikawa and her supporters enthusiastically advocated the campaign, most of which to the government and companies, most of which are male-dominated institutions, they failed to make systematic amendment to this issue. In other words, the way they negotiated could not break the solid patriarchal structure in Japanese society, in which men can regulate women's dress code in the workplace. It would be seen by the result that few companies improved their rules on women's shoes, in addition to the failure of the law reform. Furthermore, it is also problematic that working environments that respect tradition, including gendered conventions, have profoundly manipulated people not to resist or critically reassess the rules in Japan. According to the Japanese Trade Union Confederation, those who answered in the survey that it could not be helped that men and women have different regulations on what they wear were 36.2%, outweighing 31.5% of those who said they should be changed along with situations. These responses reflect Tajima's theory that most women are unaware of the oppression they are bound to. Sasanuma also pointed out such attitudes might have perpetuated sexism in Japan. That Kutu highlighted that Japanese women were so obedient to the companies and patient with their uncomfortableness, as nobody had resisted or questioned such as unequal regulation since the Equal Employment Opportunity Law was enforced in Japan. As a concluding remark, Kutu successfully gained attention and support from thousands of people and developed to the point of negotiation with the government. Fully utilizing the advantages of hashtag activism for the progress of the movement, it embodies the notion of personal is political, negotiated deep-rooted sexism in Japanese society with thousands of supporters, and established the concept that forcing women to wear high heels is gender-based discrimination. This achievement could be significant benchmarks for feminists in Japan, although its impact might seem limited. In contrast, it has also presented some challenges feminists have to consider and tackle. A series of severe backlash against feminists and their activism must be resolved to develop feminist activism and collective knowledge production more sustainably. Also, the advantages of hashtag activism and its prevalence may be restricted to the issues of the majority, not the marginalized people. If hashtag feminism can encourage individuals to speak up and feminists will seek further progression in their activism, it should be open to those with various backgrounds and try to make it a diverse and inclusive space. Moreover, the deep-rooted patriarchal environment in institutions in Japan disturbed the campaign's prevalence, highlighting that there are hefty barriers to overcome to circulate feminist collective knowledge throughout society. As mentioned, previous research discussed that it's essential to adopt offline methods with hashtag feminism. Kutu efficiently extended the movement into political actions towards society, both online and offline. However, these strategies were not enough for the movement to resist the deep-rooted patriarchy and reflect feminist perspective on Japanese society, as feminist narratives were interpreted into male context and the negotiation processes allowed men to take initiative on ruling women's issues. This experience can present an insight. If feminists seek to make a social change in Japanese society, where patriarchal practices and beliefs have been widely perpetuated, it would be necessary to reconsider and form tactics strictly emphasizing and focusing on women's context or the principle that women should decide on women's issues without giving initiatives to men or male-dominated organizations. However, observing today's hashtag feminism in Japan, it's evident that Kutu significantly provided feminists with valuable and inspiring signposts in developing the feminist movement and collective knowledge production. After Kutu, multiple feminist movement has been launched on Twitter, and more people actively joined. For example, soon after Kutu was established, the movement called Flower Demo, a series of protests against the repeated judgment of acquittal of sexual violence cases followed it. Since it began, many people have continued to protest against sexual violence, both online and offline. Besides, in 2021, when Yoshiro Mori, the former chairman of the Japanese Olympic Committee, expressed explicit sexism in his speech, thousands of people immediately began to protest it using hashtags. It led to the petition campaign calling for his resignation, and its goal was ultimately accomplished by his resignation. Furthermore, nowadays, people's awareness of sexual violence and sexism has been launching a peak. More and more celebrities are joining the Me Too rally in the field of film production, which now are expanding into other fields such as the literary world, journalist communities, and the public. Simultaneously, criticism against gendered advertisement has also become activated. It was such a noteworthy moment when the activism criticizing the controversial advertisement of an erotic comic book in the newspaper captured the attention of UN women, and it made a remonstrance on that issue. These activism's prevalence and achievement would be influenced by Kutu, as it made Twitter a place where people can actively discuss gender-based related issues and express individuals' feelings. Besides, in this movement, people and media no longer focus on who established them, unlike the Kutu case, even though there are leaders who launched the rallies. It must be advantageous for collective knowledge production, strengthens its collective and collaborative aspects. These should be plenty of possibilities for feminism to develop better ways of cultivating their collective knowledge with upcoming hashtag feminism. I will keep focusing on these topics and do further analysis in the future. Thank you for listening.